Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Tune-Up. I'm Bill Gilkey with the Chameleon of Motorsports, Heath Tate over there, and we're at the Speed Shop in North Little Rock, Arkansas this week, visiting with Steve and Rachael Haynes that have the Speed Shop here in North Little Rock, and we've got a great hour or so coming up ahead of us, but right now we're going to kick it back over to Heath a little bit with last week in review.
Last weekend we had a few of our locals here in the state of Arkansas went to the Duel in the Desert. We had Young Money, Ashton Wilkie went up there and he won the Young Guns race modified, and was fast all week. All of our Arkansas guys were pretty fast all week up there at the Duel in the Desert. We had Jack Sullivan, first time I guess in a IMSA stock car. I think he finished fourth up there.
Yeah, on Saturday night's feature.
Saturday night feature, he finished fourth.
Old late model guy getting in
getting in a stock car. And we had Edwin Wells. He was up there racing, and Edwin raised the most money for his particular charity out of anybody up there.
Yeah, the log of load
for kids. I mean, he raised the most money. I get, everybody liked his car and what it looked like, and and the reason behind it.
Money goes to Arkansas Children's Hospital.
Yes, 8,100. I think last time I looked that night up there. I mean, I think of all the cars up there, they had they raised, for the different charities around 20,000.
Well,
if I'm thinking correctly. Somewhere around that area, and Edwin, 8,100 of it was his car, so that was a good deal for Arkansas Children's Hospital and Logaload.
Well, we appreciate Edwin and Melanie's efforts to get that going out there, so that's great news for Arkansas. Also want to thank our sponsors tonight, obviously the Speed Shop here in North Little Rock, Arkansas, for hosting us tonight. True Grit Auctions over in Dardanelle, Arkansas, Prescott Raceway. They've got a race this weekend, I believe, going on, in Weston Petroleum Company over in Plummerville, Arkansas. Thanks to him. And we'll get right into the show tonight. We've got Mr. Steve Haynes here, who is about to enter 50 years in the speed shop business in Arkansas, and Steve's, as you can tell, has been around for a long time. He's been a store owner, a race promoter, a racer. He's done just about everything in racing that racing has to offer, and we're glad to have him and his daughter Rachael, who races also and works here in the store here in North Little Rock. And Steve, we'll just get started like we always do on the show. How did all this begin years ago?
Well, as a young person, I was liked competition. Was on a swim team. I grew up on the Rock Boys Club swim team and learned the discipline of hard work and swimming and competing, and also liked cars and planes and built little models, to learn about the parts, and as that developed into a passion for, I guess, competition and speed, and as life goes on, things just unraveled and kind of led me that way. I'm going to go back and just kind of tell the story. If you won't listen to the story,
yes.
Preserve it, And so my mother had a business called Glenn Haynes Furniture Seconds and Salvage, which is salvage furniture and stuff. And my dad worked for Delta Airlines, and then at off time he would work at the furniture store. So I grew up after school, moving furniture, lifting, hard work, and discipline, and swimming on the swim team, and being competitive in all areas. And so you know how it is when you're in the family, and when it's your turn to get your driver's license, you get the old hand-me-down or whatever is available. You don't get to go out and get a new car like they do nowadays, some kids. So we had got I remember my dad said, we're going to have to buy a little truck for the furniture business to haul furniture in, and so my grandfather had connections in Shreveport, so he said, we'll go down there and get this truck for our business. So I remember one day I was sitting across the street, and we lived in North Little Rock then in Lakewood, and I was looking across at my buddy's house, at my house, right across the street, and this green truck comes coming across the driveway, and cuts through our driveway into the yard. I said, look, this crazy guy's driving in. Oh, that's my dad. That must be that truck he got. Well, he got bugs all over it driving back. He's going to pull in the yard and wash it off. And so I go down there, and there's a brand new 1964 El Camino, green El Camino, which I learned to drive on. 3-speed on the cob, 6-cylinder, and just old delivery truck. And we hauled furniture in it and everything. And when I got time to be the one to get the family vehicle, that's what I got, you know. So I was growing up in the furniture business. By then we moved to Southwest Little Rock and established a good business. And we got a contract with Cotton Belt Railroad with all the salvage they got. In other words, the train stopped fast, everything shifted the load, and we just got what it was. Well, we keep the furniture and stuff for the main store, but this other stuff, we might just sell the whole boxcar full of whatever it was, plywood. Somebody would come get it. So one day my mother sent me over there to check a boxcar out. We slid the door open, and the boxes all shifted, and we opened this box, and I remember the first thing was little girls' bikinis, you know, I thought for swimsuits. I thought, next box opened up, whoa, there was these cool racing jackets. Back in the days, nobody's old enough, probably maybe you guys can remember, in the 70s and 60s and 70s, they had these with a stripe on them, kind of like that old shirt over there. It had a stripe, STP or whatever, Ford Dodge Chevy, nylon racing jackets. They were going to the Sears put-on shop, and the price tag's at $16.95. So I said, hey, Mama, let me handle these, and I'll buy them from you. And my idea was to get some parts for my El Camino, see, trading, see. So she said, well, you can have them for $3.50 a piece. And I didn't know it was good. Well, it's cheap, so I could sell them for $6.99, you know, make some money, and that's cheap for the other. They could make money too. So I said, well, by then I was graduated from McClellan '69 high school, and then I was going to ULR, swimming on the swim team, water polo team, and working part time. I get my classes in the morning. I work in this furniture store, and so I thought, well, I'll go to the local stores and see if I can trade them for parts from El Camino. Because by then I got married, had a kid on the way, so I got that. You know how the guys think. If I could do it on the side, not take away any money from my household, then I can get by with this. You know, the wife will understand. You know. So I go to Honest Charlie's Speed Shop, and they aren't in business anymore. But went over there. The guy acted like he didn't want to wait on me. Walk in, a little old kid, you know, 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old, whatever it was by then, and he looked at me, and he didn't want to wait on me. And I said, I want to buy a T-handle. I said, do you have a T-handle? And he just looked at me and said, what do you think? And I said, well, yeah. Now, and then I finally got enough courage to say, well, how much you want for it? He said, well, $14.95. You want one or not? And I said, yeah, you know. So I got thinking, man, we could use a friendlier shop around here, you know. and so then at the same time, as history would have it, good friends of mine became good friends of mine. David Inman has Inman Truck Sales, and John Steele had a speed shop on Baseline Road called the Mid-South Speed Shop. I still got one of the t-shirts, had a 33 Willis coupe. That's when I started liking the old cars, the Willises and the Angles and stuff. And so it was a B-gasser. It had a blower on it and ran on gas. And I got to go down there, and I was just hungry for information. This was not just a model. This was the real thing. And so I go down there for free and work, you know, with them and learn stuff, you know. And they like to have me around, you know. So they finally split. And actually, my grandfather was a pilot and flew Mr. Inman around, so we had connections with them too. Private flew him around the country stuff. So I made good friends with him, and they were going to get out of that business. He had bigger fish to fry and stuff, and so John Steele said, well, I'll help you get started, get hooked up with this one company. It had one warehouse called AECO in Dallas, long gone now, and so he helped me get my business license and all this stuff, and I could buy something besides, you know, buy something and sell it out of the corner of the furniture store. So anyhow, we're going to swim team, back to that story, and they have a swim meet up at Siloam Springs, Arkansas. And I thought, John Brown University, and we go up there, and I thought, man, I saw an ad in the magazine that said, Marsh's Racing Tires, Siloam Springs, they make
Lyle
tires.
Marsh.
Yeah, Lyle Marsh, good Christian friend of mine through the years. And so I said, you know, I'll go up there and take some of these jackets. If they don't want them around here, maybe they'll want them. So I went up there, and it smelled good. It was like a giant burnout. The whole place, the whole factory was burnt rubber, you know. So I go in, and they have a little bitty little counter there with just souvenirs and stuff in there. So I bring these racer jackets in. They just fell. man, we'll take them all. How many you got? Can you bring us some more? They just were excited. So I was like, wow. So I'm gonna get some slicks from El Camino now, finally. You know, by now I didn't put a 327 4-speed in. You know, get rid of the 6-cylinder. So they had these checker flag racing tires. They had a little checker flag print on them. They were recapped with soft rubber. You know, and when you burned out, they just leave. You could go out and blow the rubber off. You know, powdered rubber, but they would bite. So anyhow, they got all these shirts. Well, I ended up with more than 2 tires. They had a whole load of tires. I thought, well, gee, now. I sell every tire and make $5 a tire, then mine will be free, and I can justify, you know, racing to the wife, you know. So I ran an ad in the Shoppers News, and here this ball started rolling. Then they came in about that time when I could get with the other parts, and people said, well, get more than tires. Can you give me some gears? Can you give me this? And so they started coming in and buying, and finally got to the point where I could be gone delivering furniture, and they'd come in. My mother wouldn't know anything about the stuff, so they'd have to wait till I got there. And she was open-minded enough to say, hey, son, you know, my dream was for you to follow into the furniture business and carry on, but if this is really what you want to do, then go ahead. So we opened a brick-and-mortar store on Gardner Road, which is behind Fuller Hardware on Baseline Road in southwest Little Rock, right about March 1st, 1971. Do the math, March 1st, 2021. 50 years of this craziness, and a lot of stories in between. But so we arranged my classes at college, ULR, in the mornings, and then I would go up there and open it from 1 to 9 at night, and have a family on the way and everything. And it was hard, but I love people. I love giving them a good deal, and I love the parts, and I just always tried to be honest and do the best service I could. Well, I had big competition. We had national chains. Here was Honest Charlie over there. Now by then they were hacked. They would come over. When they would close at 5 or 6, and I'm open to 9, they'd come over to my store and harass me. We don't like you. We don't like you being. Well, I'm a little kid. Here they're older people, and so I was scared, you know. I'm invested in this thing, and then they said, well, we're going to open a store as close to you as we can put you out of business. And I just said, well, I'm trusting the Lord that we'll get through this, you know. And sure enough, 2 blocks away, they opened this big mega store, a big radio blowout, and Mike Heim's top fuel dragster on display, and people were parading through the store. Well, we're sorry, Steve, like a funeral, you know. I said, sorry for what? Well, they opened up, you're not going to make it. You know, I said, oh, really? I said, well, you come by next week, next year, whatever. You want something, I'll be here with a fair deal. Well, they built their business on putting me out of business. Didn't even last a year. And so we kept continuing to grow and find the next building in the shopping center. We'd add to the next building, and then the next one. Finally, we had the whole place. And my mother had wanted to build a larger furniture store on Baseline Road in Laurel Springs behind Baseline Elementary School. And I said, Mom, I'm renting here. Why don't you build it big enough for both of us, and I'll help the family pay for a building. I mean, you know, we'll split it. So we built a big building across from Sawyer's Market and behind Baseline Elementary School. So we built it up there in the early years and had a lot of great people working for me. Dwight Sutherland, and Arkansas Drag Racing Hall of Fame member, which is, by the way, here at the speed shop down there. If you guys want to come in sometime and look through there, there's right down the hall here. The pictures and the booklets are there. And
we're big fans of the Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
There's some new pictures coming. So a lot of great people worked for me through the years, and Rob Ayers and a lot of guys that had parents and themselves were good racers, and I could go on and name a lot of more. I don't leave anybody out, but so I was blessed with having been around a lot of great friends. Usually were customers that liked racing and became involved with. We sponsored their cars, and we set national records together, and we did all kinds of things. And so the business began to grow, and then my dad retired from the airlines, and my mother was going to retire from the furniture business. And so I either had, she said, we're going to sell this building or the old building, one of the two, and put them both up for sale and retire. And here I go, I got to make a choice when that happens. So she sold that building, so I moved back to where we started from, and had that whole old furniture store, and we built race cars. About that time I got the Anglia, a 48 Anglia, which was a popular car with the customers through the years. We talked about that early before the show, and a wheel standing car, and I had it for 10 years, raced it at Prescott mostly, and had just a blast with that car. And then one day I got to feel, I'm going to have to give a little testimony here, spiritual wise, but I got to thinking, Lord, you know what? I feel guilty. This is a material possession, but I sure enjoy it. You know, I sure enjoy launching this car, sitting me back in the seat, and all this sport. It's something I got to do something for you involved in the sport. What I just want to know what to do. So I thought, you know, I think I'm gonna look in the Bible and see if the word race is in the Bible. You know, I thought that's probably not race in the Bible. Sure enough, here it was. Hebrews 12:1. Since we are encompassed by such a great a cloud of witnesses, let us set aside every weight of sin which doth easily beset us, and run with patience the race that is set before us. That's it. I'm going to put this fish emblem on my anglia, put Hebrews 12:1, and people ask me what it means. I had this little tract printed up, I still got some today, and hand it to them, and then I had a little testimony, and then I feel better about having a material possession. I want to make sure I didn't, you know, consider it an idol or something, but I really enjoyed it. But I recognized He allowed me the ability to be in the business, be in the sport, and to do that, and I gave Him the glory. So, I would teach it like, okay, here's since we're encompassed by such a great a cloud of witnesses, like all the people in the stands watching you perform under pressure, race, and the pits are working under pressure, and they're observing how you act, and they see how you handle it. You cuss it out because it quit running, or do you keep trying? And they're watching you. They may not read the Bible, but they're watching you run your life. So I use that as testimony. And run with patience the races before. Yeah, it takes patience. We all know that to race, you know, and be consistent and all the things it takes. And then that weight of sin, which slows down your Christian way of life. If you sin, that weight of sin slows you down. Well, we want to slow the car down. You have to put weight in it. I remember we didn't make a weight break. Our car was too light to throw you out. You had to put weight in to slow it down. So I used that analogy, and it was catching on. So about that time, there was an organization ministering down at Prescott called the Christian Drag Racing Association, and they didn't last very long, but somehow they heard about Racers for Christ, and thought, you know, so I wrote the president, Ken Owen, to Racers for Christ, and said, by this time, somewhere in the transition between race and the Anglia, and I ended up making friends with Tom Slaughter and Rick Banning, and they were going to build a super stock car, Hemi car. And I've been driving Barracuda. The car, the El Camino, I had a street car, was a Barracuda. And so, man, one day I'm in the staging lanes in my Anglia, and we had this thing going with, back in those days, in the 70s, the fastest single 4-barrel small block or big block car, bracket car. And we run quarter mile back then. Well, it was down to the Anglia and this car called the Slippery Fish, a Barracuda, that Tom Slaughter had. And we both run like it. Back then, it sounds slow today, but in the quarter mile, we were like 10, 20s, and 30s, you know, 125, 35, or what it was. And so we were the fastest too, and people could notice, and they wanted us to have a match race. They wanted to race each other, 2 out of 3 match race. And so I pull up in the state, I look in the back glass, holy mackerel, the decal for my fraternity and ULR was on the back glass. It was my old Barracuda. I get out and go, where did you get this? Well, this little old man, which was my granddad, sold it for me at his car lot in Hot Springs. He said, you got to be kidding. I didn't recognize it could have been turned into a race car. I said, holy mackerel. So we become great friends in competition. We ran our match race and I won 2 out of 3. And then we got to know us in the S.C. Buchanan. They wanted to know who could drive this car they go build. And I met Rick Banning, which was a car builder out of Barling. Great guy and great craftsman, man. He could really build cars. So anyhow, they wanted to know. I had my friend S.C. Buchanan. We've been sponsors Ford Mustang and Kuntz Racing for years. He won Division 4 NHR Stock Eliminator 4 years in a row. Nobody's ever done that, 4 in a row. And so I said he'd be a good driver, better than me. You know, he's my mentor. So he drove the Hemi car, and I sponsored it. And we worked as a team, set the national record, and then he moved up with Hale Performance into another car, and they trained me in the another Barracuda. We had 2 Barracudas, and I got to drive the Hemi Barracuda and start running between a local level to a national level. And so God blessed me. See, I gave up something on a lower level, but He supplied me something on a higher level. Because I sold the Anglia, which my family liked to kill me for it. I mean, they didn't know how they liked it so much, and sometimes I even regret it, like we all do, selling cars we wish we had today that are worth more money than now. And there I was sitting there with the empty trailer and empty dually and nothing. I thought, well, Lord, I guess this is it. You know, what if you want me to do something, I will. And so they say, you need to drive this red Cuda. I'm building, this guy owns it, but he can't drive, and you drive it, and we're going to kind of groom you for later on. So I got to start driving on national. Here I was in Indy. I got to drive at won a Wally at North Star Nationals, Brainerd, Minnesota. I got to go to Denver, Mopar Mile. I never would have got to do that. And I joined up with the Racers Across Ministry. I wrote the president, Ken Owens, and said, hey, you know, I'm going to these points meets and stuff, Hallsville and Houston, Dallas, wherever, and I'm already there. Could I do a little service in the bleachers? And he wrote me back and said, yeah, you can do this. It was 30-something years ago, and you can do that. So we would go to Hallsville, and the kids were little, her big brother and sister, that's before she was even around, Rachel. They'd help us set up the stand. We'd have a little service before the races started, and it grew from 10 people to 15 and 20, and oh my gosh, then it got into the 100 and something people later on, and another guy came in and took over my chaplain, and I assisted him while I was raising a family and going to church, and I came back in full time in 2000. And we just gave Centerville a thank you plaque for 20 years of services at Centerville, this awards this last week at Centerville alone. And so I was able to mix ministry and racing and be blessed and get to go all over the country. And it was just great. And then I got to drive the blue car when they moved me up to the red car, national record holder car. And it was an awesome car. And I tied the national record with it one time. And just made great lifetime friends in the racing world between working the ministry and working the racing, and then having run drag strips and being, as I can think about them all, in the early days, Tom Parker, one good friend of mine, passed away. He worked for me at the speed shop, and we opened the I-30 dragway at the county line. Well, he owned it and ran it, but I was like the silent partner, because he didn't have a lot of money, I found out later. So I would loan him money, like he said, we need $2,000 worth of asphalt in this spot. So I'd loan him the money, we'd do the asphalt, and then we had a good weekend, he'd pay me back. And so I was kind of a silent partner, because I knew it would help business. And people would go out there and race, and then they'd come in. It was like race on Sunday, sell on Monday. You know, that's what they had with Grand Spalding Dodge and all that stuff. You win, you don't go buy a car. Yeah. Well, they were copying the drag cars on their street machines. I want one of those historical hood scoops on my Camaro. I want fake wheelie bars on the back just to look like one. So it was good for business. Plus we had the Speed Shop t-shirts that said I-30 Dragway and Speed Shop, looked like they were everywhere. So we got great promotion out of it, and I knew that. So I silent partnered there, and then he went on to help the early days of Prescott get started. Him and Robert Cornegay and some other people that we know, Harold Hayes, that are division tech guys that NHRA in the early days, and kind of helped there too, not as much as with up here. And then Rob Ayers and I, when he was working for me in the early 90s, 80s, late 90s, I can't remember now, had Carlisle Dragway. Tom had got it started on the old drag strip, and it was a success. And then we tried to build another one because the Federal Aviation had control of it. We couldn't leave anything up, so we had to take it up and put it down. Oh, it was so much work, and mosquitoes were horrible. So we want to build our own track on the other end, and we got it done. And he ran it for a while and lost control of it, and Mike Moorhead ran it, and then Rob Ayers and I ran it the last couple of years it ran, and successful, did great with it. We had cars from Memphis come, and so I was able to run a drag strip, drive race cars, have a speed shop, and announcing. I started announcing at some of these tracks and announced it at Carlisle, and later on in life did I know, never dreamed it would have happened. But with the Racers Christ Ministry, going to all the divisional points meets in Division 4, Houston, Dallas, Tulsa, Baton Rouge, Belrose, and all these places, and doing the having run stock and super stock, they would ask me to, well, I'd be in the tower and got to be friends with announcers, because they'd let us make commercials for the Racers Cross Service. Well, they found out I used to race, and the next thing you know, he'd say, will you come commentate during super stock? And so, because you run super stock. Well, I knew all these guys, so I had a lot of stuff to say, and stock eliminator. Plus, I sponsored some of them, so I never ran out of things to say. So we would talk, and then he'd say, "Man, I got to run down here to talk to some guys. Would you do super gas too while you're here?" Well, I loved it because I could, when we had an oil down, I could pump the Racer Cross Service for, really good, and then I could talk about the racing. I just knew it. I knew every form of it because I'd been doing it all, and it just went in good. So I got in the Racers Guild. They got me in the Racers Guild, and then an unfortunate thing happened. One of my lifetime friends was the announcer, and he got cancer, and we prayed him through the first phase of it, and he got well. a great racer, lady run the top alcohol dragster, Shelley Howard, former Shelley Howard. Her husband was a doctor, and we got Lynn. His name was Lynn Nickerson, and we got him. He was well and healed, and he came back. Well, during that time, they asked me to fill in, so I announced for him a lot, and he came back, and he did well for a while, and then it came back, and he didn't make it through the last time, and he passed away, and we had this two service. We had a track service for him and one at the Motorplex. It just everybody loved him. He had this great voice. I wish I could talk like him, but I learned so much from him in announcing and some of the cliches that he said. And what I'm trying to say is, all these years I made lifetime friends. We had great relations. Racing brings people together so well.
It does do that.
I'm biased between it. I tell people, well, you and your grandkids are on these junior dragsters. Well, tell me about that. I say, well, you know what? It's a great family sport. Really? Well, what do you mean? Well, if you think about it, when our grandson was playing some football, the team brought him there. We went to the stands and watched. We go like this, and he might catch our attention if we could see him on the bench. And then the team took him. And then we call or told him, "Hey, you did good," or whatever. Go to the drag strip. Man, his daddy and me, we maintain the cars. The kids drive them. Grandma, and Rachel helps us with the car, and we tune it. And Grandma, she makes what the other little kids that can't drive yet. They're coming up too, by the way. And she makes the food and all this stuff. It's a team. We all do it together, and we all stand in that winner circle together. You know, I got a picture right there. And so it makes it all worthwhile. It's a great family sport. So. And I see it on a divisional level and a national level, the teams and the friendships they make, and I've got people I can call in Baytown, Texas right now, and just, hey Steve, how you doing, man? And they text me to pray for them or whatever's going on. I've made such great friends, and I wouldn't take anything forward. I look back and saw how God intertwined all this need for speed and competition, and having to race, getting the privilege of racing cars and sell the parts, and be involved in helping that guy get his car going right, and being a part of the maybe sponsoring them and seeing them be successful. You feel like you have a part in it. So it's like going to a sport and you watch it and you don't know anybody out there. It's just so interesting. But if you know somebody out there, or you've had involvement in a family, it's really more exciting, isn't it? And so that's what it was to me. And so then I was the divisional director of Racers for Christ for Division 4 for several years, and it started growing so big that we have chaplains in circle track, boat racing, drag racing, motocross, BMX, bicycle, slot, all kinds of sports. Any motorized sport, just about, we have chaplains there. And so it got really big, and they demanded me be full-time. And it was about the time we were moving from the store from the southwest area. And I thought, well, Lord, is it time for me to give up the speed shop business and go full-time in the ministry? And God always puts these choices in front of you. They're never easy. They're always like, wow, what do you do? And so I said, is it pride that I wanted to keep being in the speed shop business, or is it, do I really trust you, God? And so I prayed about it, and they wanted me to go full-time, and they were pushing me. So, and it didn't work out where I went full-time, and they allowed me to be bivocational and do it for a while, but they finally had to find somebody full-time. And it's a full-time job. I was having a hard time trying to juggle the ministry being gone. Luckily I had enough help with the speed shop to be gone, and all the business. It was a challenge, and so it had grown that much. So now I'm assistant to the divisional director. Up until this year, we'd go to the points meets together, and when my partner was still here, we had help with Rachel to maybe take off and be a co-chaplain with Division 4. Then the COVID thing this year, the whole year was messed up, and we didn't even go outside of Arkansas this whole year. First time in 30-something years. It's just, he handled it, and the local chaplains had the closest one to that track because of the restrictions, had to handle it, and so we just focus. I am the main chaplain in Centerville all these years, and I wouldn't take anything for the little ministry there. We meet on 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. They open the gates, and our service is 9:30 to 10, and we'll have anywhere from 15 to, we have almost 40 people one time on the 2-day race. They come on their own for that 30 minutes, and we have a prayer request, and we have a lesson. I try to teach something that's applicable to life that they can understand in automotive terms, and have faithful people that come every time, and the visitors that come often, and we've developed friends there, and I do the invocation and for the national anthem, and just like to be a presence there because I love the sport, I love the Lord, I love the people. It's just, I wouldn't take anything for it. I know I'm rapping off a lot, but you guys are getting the whole bucket of boats right in one shot here. But earlier in my life, I thought, you know, what if God called me to be a missionary and I have to go to the hot jungle in Africa with all them snakes and bugs? Man, I hope I don't want to do that. But gee, called me to the asphalt jungle in the drag strip, and boy, let me tell you what, some of those days down in Belrose, Louisiana, when it was 106 degrees and the heat index was 114, and we saw a real rain shower came out, and when it hit the white pavement, it just hit, but when it hit the asphalt, it go and smoke. It was hot. So God called me to the hot asphalt jungles of the drag strips, you know. But so we've been there for the we've married people. We've married people in the starting line. We've had to do funerals and all kinds of things. That through the ministry, we get calls at the track, and you're like a doctor on call. Everybody thinks a lot goes on the track, but so much happens off the track, in the pits. There's accidents. The trailer door falls on, somebody breaks their leg. The golf carts crash. We've had some crazy things happen, and you're there to minister to those people and be a part of their experience that weekend. And it's just the blend of all these things I was able to do. Drive race cars and work on them, and have a speech off that sells parts for them, be an announcer at the drag strip, run drag strips, and be a chaplain and all. I just feel like one of the most blessed guys there is. I'm just blessed every day to be healthy and well. And I was swimming before last year. I still swam, not competitively. I swam for the Masters, over the hill thing, for many years. But I swam to stay in shape. And then last year, my grandson was running for the championship, and I started feeling really bad. I was at the track one weekend, and I started getting like I was getting the flu, and I thought, man, I'm aching all over. Something's wrong, and but I didn't have any fever or anything. I didn't know what it was. Long story short, I got Rocky Mountain spotted tick fever, and man, that's some bad stuff. I had only heard about it, but didn't know it was bad. It took me about a year to get through all of it, and so I stopped the swimming because I couldn't do it, and then the COVID came, so I've been behind on that. But I try to stay in shape and stay healthy, but I've been blessed with good health. The story here probably need to continue on. Let's see. So through the years, the things changed in Southwest Little Rock. I was there for 40-something years, and had my ex-business partner, Leonard Lamy, and I had been friends with two independent speed shops on opposite sides of town, and we helped each other out, kind of like the silent partner in the drag strip. He'd need something I couldn't get, and vice versa. We'd help each other out, and we were friends. And we talked about merging because things have been changing. The internet came out, and that really took a toll on us and various things. And we realized that two bad situations did make a good. Something had good happen to one of us. So the business, I sold my building and land, and was financially out of debt, and we merged 8 years ago. This coming December 1st will be 8 years, and we felt like two customer bases, two reputations, and one set of bills, and keeping it frugal, we could do good. And so we were both down, and now we built the inventory back up and built the name and everything back up better. And so we were walking along real good, and then April 26th of 4/26 of 20, unbeknownst to us, Leonard had a heart attack and passed away. We didn't been having any symptoms or anything. It was just, you could have blew us over with a feather. Had no idea anything was wrong. And I had the honor of even doing the funeral of my good friend and business partner, and there where the ministry came in, and I thought, could it be, Lord, some of the things that I've been trained to do for this very moment, I've been called to do this. It was hard, but God knows the beginning and the end, and He knows all that's going on, and my faith has been in Him, and He's allowed me to keep doing this. And so Rachel and I are pursuing to keep the business going, and we've been doing pretty good at it. We're trying to get all the financial things lined out and to have our 50-year anniversary. That's what we're shooting for. Celebration all next year will be 2021. Actually, like I told them before we met earlier here tonight, that I was doing stuff before that on the side in the furniture store I talked about earlier, but from the brick and mortar store would be like 50 years. So we're going to have a special T-shirt working on design. We've always had T-shirts all the time. And
let's talk about this T-shirt.
Yeah.
We were talking. This is probably
yeah.
everybody knows the most recognizable T-shirt anywhere in America associated with motorsports.
Yeah.
And you designed this yourself.
Well, I took art, and besides athletics in college, I took art. I took the old Harley Davidson, the number 1, and I put Arkansas in it because my theory was it looked like Arkansas's number 1. It would come across mentally, Arkansas's number 1. So much pride in Arkansas, you know. And and everybody's I'm patriotic, and I like that red, white, and blue thing. So I kind of, then I had the Angley in here, and I've had the Hemi Barracuda in here, and I've had stock cars in here, and when we sponsored some sprint cars, I've had so many shirts through the years. But it became a tradition to have shirts, and so we've always designed one. And this is we call it the Speed Shop now. It was Steve's, but when we talked about merging, we thought, well, what should we call it? You know, and we thought, well, you know, if you listen to your customers, what do your customers say when they're in the speed shop and their wife calls trying to find out where they are? Oh, I'm down here at the speed shop. It was just the speed shop. Well, we thought we're the only one around, so we'll just be the speed shop. It sounds generic, and we can kind of be in a partnership. It wouldn't sound like the old Auto Sports. It wouldn't sound like the Steve Speed Shop, but everybody still says Steve Speed Shop because we answer the phone. The Speed Shop sound like Steve Speed Shop, and there's Steve on the phone. So it just, I don't care. God takes care of it all. But yeah, the T-shirts have been fun. And Rachel came up with this saying, which is "More power to you." We thought that was cool. That was new. That was her. Maybe she liked Dad a little bit, I hope, and I couldn't make it without her. This is a gearhead girl right here, and I am so blessed. She grew up, and she was like me, just wasn't too great with school and college. I'm not running it down, but just she's more of a hands-on active kind of like me, and so she said, I don't want to go to college. I want to work in the speed shop like you, Dad, and with you, Dad. And I said, okay, well, come on in. So about that time, computers were coming around. I didn't know anything about computers. You know, we had a calculator and everything. And she said, I'll get your computer set up. And we learned that in school. And I'll set our UPS shipments up on the computer. And she did all that stuff. Next thing you know, she said, I could sell stuff with these guys here. And we had some contests. She outsold all the guys. I thought, man, what? I missed this here, you know. And so, long story short, man, now I'm living the dream with my daughter here by my side, driving a race car we built together, blood, sweat, tears, busted knuckles in the back here, weekends, and see her go down that track and have fun. It's not a super fast car, but it's consistent. We're having a good time with it. She's got the competitive nature that I have. She doesn't like to lose, and we have fun yet to be had. We have fun yet to be had. We're not going to be no small tire, big tire, pro mod team, but we're having fun with what we do within the means we have. And with the grandkids, seeing them compete, they go down the track. When she goes down the track and they go on the track, I feel like I'm in the car myself, like I'm at Indy in my Hemi Cuda. My heart beats fast, my palms sweat, and I'm just to tune for them and coach them. It's just so much fun. But I've made sure that every year I've gone down the track in something. So I would say I've raced every year. Somebody let me drive their car or had something going on, and I accidentally win races. I don't know how. I guess I'm just lucky. I went up there on Father's Day one year with my pickup truck, and I just put a program on it. I was just going to go test the program and see how much difference it made, so I could tell people it picked up so much ET and so many miles an hour, you know. So they said, "We're having Father's Day race, but you got to run your street truck." Well, this is my street truck. So anyhow, I kept winning rounds. I wanted a Father's Day race. I thought, man, I still got it. Maybe I need to get back in this car, you know. I said, so the next week I just go back to run it street. You know, I said so, and I went all the way to the finals again, and then I think I broke out. Oh yeah, it broke out somehow. I just run it run faster than ever run. I don't know how it did. It just didn't make sense. Never run that fast, but I broke out. So, and I go, Steve, you're getting hooked again. You got to watch out. This is your truck. You're getting a lot of miles on it, you know. I made a perfect run in that truck. Why couldn't it have been Indy? You know, I ran dead on with a 0, and I got to the other end. The guys, wow, what you did? what? He said, you just ran a perfect run. You run dead on, and your reaction time was 0, 0, 0, and dead on with a 0, 0, 0. So I came back, and Centerville, they all made me down. Oh gosh, I was the second person in Centerville's history to run a perfect race, because the rest of them were like dragsters with computers and everything in them. And I'm a door car truck. I said, I could have done this in Indy with my Hemi Cuda, got some kind of famous, And so, but I treasure that. That's one of my lifetime accomplishments. Because when I was announcing, I'd ask the seasoned announcers there, I'd say, how many times you see a perfect run? I said, oh man. One guy told me, he said, it's like hitting a hole-in-one blindfolded in a windstorm. I said, really? I said, well, it seemed like it would happen with all these gadgets. And no, to do both of them in one deal is and I thought, well, I've had perfect lights, and I run dead on my job. I've never had them both ever since, And so I look at that as one of my lifetime accomplishments. Even
Certainly,
over the Wally I got,
Sure.
But that's the challenge of it. I told a guy, it's like they're into video games. I said drag racing is like a full-size video game. You're not just sitting there doing this. You're doing the shifting and the driving, and you're thinking. And you're launching the car. People think you just drive down the track. No, you all know from drag racing, it's cutting the light, the reaction time, and thinking about your opponent. Are you breaking out? Are you going to catch him? Watching the stripe, watching the shift point. There's a lot you got to think of in those few seconds, And to me, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to try to do all that. It's the competition and the challenge. And it's a good sport. The grandkids have learned to perform, operate. Our little fast car, and our grandson, he's getting heavy, weighed 130 pounds or so. It went run mid sevens, 86, 7 miles an hour in the 8th mile. We outrun the SS Camaro in the 8th mile in that little thing. So, and he learns to perform. Operate a piece of machinery while people are watching him under pressure, and learn how to be a good sport when he wins and loses, and it's great for him. It's a great industry, great sport, and to have Rachel by my side, have my grandkids racing, my sons, both sons are gearheads. They got cars they like. My youngest son, we have a '68 Barracuda back here that's restored that was started building by the guy that built our Hemi car, and so I've got to have my kids have cars, and then their kids have cars. It's just exciting, and so I wouldn't take anything for it. And it's been a blessing. I don't know how many other questions you got besides the T-shirt thing.
What have you seen the biggest change in motorsports in Arkansas since you've been involved?
It's definitely bigger than the average people know. It's not dead. It's not gone. It is big. I would make the analogy like this. I watched from the 55 Chevy days till about maybe as little as 5 years ago. It progressed this far. From there to now, it's light years. If you would have told me 5 years ago in speech, I'd just walk up to the counter and said, hey, 5 years from now, there are going to be people driving around with nitrous cars, dual turbos, running 1,000 horsepower on the street, getting 20, 30 miles a gallon, whatever. I said, yeah, right. The technology has gone so fast, so quick, it's unbelievable. When I saw a small tire guy in Centerville outrun the big tire car at 3 in the morning with dual on the track and backed it off and went a 410, 190 and some change on a 10.5 inch tire, I was flabbergasted. I saw it myself. Technology is just crazy. We have a hard time keeping up with it, even parts knowledge and technology. We're reading the books and trying to stay up with it, because I didn't grow up with it. I grew up with old school carburetors and cams and headers and stuff, and this is all new stuff. So the technology is a great thing, and the bigness of the sport, the publicity, TV with the covering the sports and the racing, the public knowledge of it's getting better. That's one thing, and then I'd have to say that. The love for the sport and love for cars. There's a saying we always had, America's love affair with the cars not over with yet. No matter what I've seen through the decades I've been in business, I've seen gas wars, gas shortages, I've seen the economic problems, I've seen all kinds of things. And through it all, the racer and the car builder and the show car guy or the hot rod guy, he says like this, don't tell me I'm not going to play with my toy. It's a form of escapism. They want to do that no matter what. It's kind of like they say that the liquor sales are good, bad times, good times, they're going to still, same thing. It's almost an addiction. And then the visibility of it with Bear Jackson auctions on TV, cable, and all these how-to-do shows, All Girls Garage, even, all these things. brought public awareness, and then we got, man, I want a car like that. I dated my wife in a car like that. I got to have one now. I've up and made my fortune. I got some money, and they'll buy a car. We talked about that earlier. You can put, and here's another thing I saw, and I told these guys this earlier. In the early days of speed shop, kids would come in and build their cars to be 16, 18, 20, whatever, put thousands of dollars in the car and sell it and lose lose thousands, get rid of it. Nowadays they're coming here and put serious money in the car, restoring a car, and I thought, man, this guy's gonna lose his tail. He's got 40 grand in this car. Then they come back in. This happened twice this last year. Two different people. One of them, I can remember the story. He'd been building this car, and he comes back in, and I said, how's the car going? I sold it. I said, what? You said you would never sell that car. What happened? Well, I was at a gas station getting gas, and everybody would go get gas. People, want to sell the car? No, I want to sell the car. And this guy kept on. He said, you want to sell the car? I said, no, it's not for sale. And he kept on about it. I said, well, I sold it. I said, well, why did you sell it? He said, he gave me the price. I didn't. He shot the price at me. I said, what? Well, I cleared 10 grand on it. I said, do what? He said, yeah, and he was happy as he could be. So I go, well, what are you going to do now? Well, I'm going to find another one and start over again. I said, oh, good, I can sell you more parts then, But so the point I'm trying to make is you can put a lot of money in them, but they're so valuable. There's only so many of them left, and it's such a popular thing right now. So that's another major change to answer your question of I've seen in it. Things going from, there's a market for the really good stuff, and there people like to get the projects, But America's love affair with the hot rod and the car, from the American graffiti ideal of the old guy with his coupe, and to the late model dual turbo cars, or all this computer, it's crazy. And it's a lot. You can jump in anywhere you want to nowadays. If you want to restore one, a show car, a rat rod, have less money in it. There's just so many ways you can build something. Express yourself through your car. That's basically what it is, right, Rachel?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so we see that their car's expression of I'm a Ford guy, and there's a lot of rivalry. I'm a Chevrolet guy. I'm a Mopar guy. Well, I've drove them all. I like a little bit about all of them, and have respect for all of them. So, yeah, that's two things I've seen. The change in the racing technology has been unbelievable, and the parts available. You've got more stuff available now to build a car, more gadgets, more trick, more chrome, more show, more go, than there was 10 years ago in the industry. There's just a boom, and I think it's here to stay. I think we don't know what's going to happen in the years ahead. This economy and the elections are all funny right now, but we haven't seen a slowdown of people working on their cars, race cars, street cars, trucks are very popular. Restoring trucks and making them go fast, and it's just seems like it's never going to die. It's just really good,
And kind of adding to that, with the technology that you've talked about, that you've seen in the last 5 years, what would you expect in the next 5 years, technology-wise?
Well, I see it semi-plateauing. It's growing real quick, and I see it still growing, but not. And I could, we could be flying around cars in the air like the Jetsons or something, but I don't know, But I see it developing to where we've reached a point. To be honest with you, we've reached a point where it's dangerous. The cars are so fast and so powerful that they're dangerous. So we're going to have to do safety. Is going to have to be a factor in it. And they are safe. They are pretty safe. You see horrendous wrecks, the driver gets out and it's okay. But we're getting some. So what I'm trying to say is you can buy more speed and danger than you may be able to understand the hazards of it and to control it. A kid can go
so
out.
Much horsepower coming
Yeah,
out of such
you can
small
buy-
engines anymore now.
Oh,
It's just
Motorcycles
unreal.
can be bad, fast motorcycles, dangerous. You get killed on them really quick, and so I see that, and then there's some talk about the electric stuff, the electric cars. I've seen an electric drag motorcycle, and the quarter miles run 8 seconds. So if you can make a motorcycle run quarter mile in 8 seconds, you might could make a car run pretty fast. Because it sounds kind of weird. Everybody likes the noise, but it,
Yeah.
Then Don Garland's tried to break 200 with his electric dragster. Got up to 180 or 90, and then somebody beat him to it. We thought he'd be the first one. Everything he's done in life practically been innovative, been the first, but another guy beat him barely 200 miles an hour in an electric dragster. So I don't know, with environmental things coming on and people complaining about the, fumes or whatever it is, but that possibly that could be something that we could see that could develop, but it's hard to say. But I don't see it dying. I see people. I still see the restoration and the old cars being there. They're all out there. They're all being bought and changed hands. They're still being built. When you think about the car numbers, it's hard to imagine when you see a few out there. You think, is there any of them left? Is there any '69 Camaros left? But then go look at how many they made. When they made, you say they made, say they a certain car they might have made, say 20,000. I say, well, they made 20,000 one model car, but there's only 50 states in the union. So how many of these states get? And they get 10,000 each state. I mean, but some of them are total. Some of them they're still out there. And we call them barn finds. When a customer comes in, and every now and then you think there's nothing left to be found, and some guy, man, my job, I installed cable, and I was in this guy's backyard, and I looked in there, and and they'll find one, and the old lady didn't know what it was worth. I bought this car for $500, and I had it on the trailer on the way home. The guy offered to pull me over, offered me $5,000 for it. We hear stories like that, so they're still out there. That's the exciting part of it. Designing it like you want to, like I started as a kid, building that model, painting it like I wanted to, and color it like I wanted to, and here you got the real thing, and you can paint it the color you want it, put the wheels on it you like it, and it expresses what you like in a car, and it's, what else is, like Rachel, what did you always say, there's nothing like, what did you always say, there's nothing like this sport?
There's nothing like it. You can take a vintage machine and put it down a track. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, when you compare it to other sports that people do,
Yeah,
you've
there's
got
nothing compared to drag racing.
and nothing about other sports. They are what they are, but a ball, glove, and bat, a football and a helmet. And here we got it. It is like that's her point. She's trying to make it.
People die, cars live forever.
Back up just a little bit before we close tonight, and we had talked about this earlier, but one of the most unique things that I witnessed you do and be involved with, that I think would be of interest to the people watching this, tell us the story behind the Snowmobile engine-powered dragster.
Well, I've been blessed with it having the inside circle with NHR and hear about some things, and backing up even further than that, up on the wall there's a picture of the first junior dragster in Arkansas. I heard from NHR, because I was there, that they're going to have this class for kids called Junior Dragster, so we got the blueprints from them directly from Glendora, California, and we scaled down a big one and built this heavy and clunky, and we had the first one, and so that's in 1991 or two, somewhere it was, and they did an article on us, and by then, later on, I left from my driving out, I drove for Mopar Performance and Jim Hale Performance. We drove Hemi cars, and I drove a Daytona super stock car, and we took that car and painted like the Mopar colors, see that white one there, and they actually had us take it to Mopar Mile High Nationals and had it on display with the Scott Jeffron's Pro Stocker and Darrell Alderman's Pro Stocker, their backup cars, and display all the way up there on our dually when I was racing the Daytona, which was painted like that too at the North Star Nationals. I was #1 qualifier, matter of fact, in the super stock side of the Mopar side of the super stock field that weekend. But so we started that. Well, later on, and that class is still going today. My grandkids are running. It's high tech. I mean, very competitive. We lost the championship by 1 point, by 0.005 thousandths of a second, by 1 point in the last round of the last race of the season. Got by 1 point. So it's competitive. It is still going. So they decided to have this class called. They knew that junior dragster had been long enough that these kids could just go to that. Well, they do nowadays, go from junior to top fuel, but they go to some other class. They want a stepping stone class. So I found out about it, and they said we're running. And I'd been up north when I raced at the North Star Nationals. Saw they ran snowmobiles, crazy. They got them a snowmobile run down through there, 2-stroke, darn RPMs, and it was really cool. So they said we'd like to design a 2-stroke. Snowmobile powered dragster, a little bigger than junior class. So we built one of the first ones, if not the first one, by Dakota Race Car, Fargo, North Dakota. Chromoly car, parachute wing, the whole bit. and had a Suzuki Arctic 3-cylinder snowmobile engine in the back of it, and it was loud. I mean, it would not, the clutch would not engage till $5,000. So when we went to the starting line, we started up. Everybody knew it because at $5,000 we're going through the pits to the start line, and it was amazing. So we developed this car, took it to a points meet up north where the NHR was there, and the first pass down the track it went a quarter mile with 1025, 125. Now the guy that built it drove it on that first run to test it because he was to make sure everything was right. And here our son had only run like 60-something miles an hour to junior dragster, so we thought, wow, this is going to be something. But the clutch messed up, so they had us design a blow-proof clutch cover set up for it that they would certify. And they met us at the Heartland Nationals, Topeka. And NHR, I mean, it was here. I've got this car, and NHR officials all over it. George Bryce from Star Motorcycle Pro Stock Drag Racing was there, and they're looking at this car all over, and they're gonna have this great class, and they're talking about putting all these combinations in it. We had the only one there, and boy, so that was at the end of the season, and then we had it, and we called them, what's going on? And about that time, NHRA got sued for canning the Pro Stock truck class, which was small block trucks, and they put the class off, and I called them one day. They said, we just decided to can, we're not going to have it. So here I had this weird car, you know, but it was fun to drive, and my son drove it, and he went to college, and I drove it at Centerville some, and my wife didn't like it because it didn't have reverse, and she had to be the backup lady, so we'd go past the line to back it up. But that was innovative. We've been on, a lot of people don't know these things, and we had some of the first things around, but they just don't talk about it much. But
and this is the sort of type of information that we're trying to get out.
So it was there, and we sold it to a guy, and he came all the way from Idaho to get it. And I never asked him what he's going to do with it, and I go, by the way, it's loaded on the trailer fixer. What are you going to do with it? He's going to build a sand rail out of it. I said, what? I wouldn't have sold it to him. You know? And they put paddle tires on them, and he run them on the sand. They had a 2-stroke class or something. Bye-bye, you know. But yeah, it's I just can't keep up with all the cars. I've been blessed with driving mine and other people's cars and for other people, and the places I've been blessed, and I give all the glory to God and allow Him to provide me the means to do it and the ability to do it, and the fun of getting to experience it. And now being in this business is an exciting industry. Be here with my daughter selling cool parts all day long. It's just better than selling stuff that's boring, you know, and not like a rebuilt water pump or something. This is, you know, we got chrome plated ones, high flow. I mean, everything is better and neater and cooler, and you help that customer, you know, find the part for his car and advise him the right way. And it's just been a great trip for 50 years plus, actually, and we'll see what goes on from here forward. But we're looking forward to having a 50-year anniversary and lots of fun, maybe a cruise in and some open house things and giveaways and all kinds of stuff.
Well, if you have an open house, we hope you'll let us know. We'd love to come down for it.
Yeah, we're going to do, Lord willing, we're going to hoop it up for all year long, you know.
Well, great. Well, I'll tell you, it has been an exciting and very informative hour. Heath, you got anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I've learned a lot.
And I have too, and I've had the advantage over you to see some of the things that this gentleman's done
right.
in his career.
And he's told me quite a bit.
Yeah,
you know. So.
And one of the most respected people in motorsports in Arkansas,
well,
Steve Haynes. And like I said, if you folks out there, if you need something for your project car, your race car, they're right here off the Crystal Hill exit in North Little Rock, Arkansas. It's been a pleasure having the two of you on here tonight. And Heath, tell us about next week.
Next week we'll be in our hometown,
Danville,
Arkansas. And we're going to have...
where are we going to be?
We're going to be at Blankenship's Pit Stop there on the main drag in Danville. And we'll have Todd Blankenship, past Centerville champion, dirt track.
Yep.
We'll have Jeff Gilkey,
Pro No
E,
multi-time event winner, as he likes to say.
And then we'll have Bill Yates. Bill Yates will be there.
Former stock car champion and Ford engine builder.
Right.
Will be on the show next week.
So it'll be interesting next week. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun, just like tonight.
Just like tonight was.
Cool.
And I'd like to say thanks to all my faithful customers who've become friends that have supported us and been there for the ride. And I hope we have many more rides together in the future.
Yes, sir.
I think you will. Well, for Heath Tate, Steve and Rachael Haynes, we got to thank Aaron Gilkey,
Yep.
our production manager. Without him, the show wouldn't exist. And once again, it's been a great evening, and we'll see you next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Bye.